Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are live officially with the end of the 2023 Whiskey Festival season. Good to see y'all. As you can see, we got the whole crew tonight. Welcome, crew.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, crew. Everybody's kind of just feeling a little good from the Memorial Day weekend. And by good, I mean, man, everyone's a little sluggish. I could tell it. And then we kind of just, about 5 minutes ago, we turned it on. I turned it on when I started smelling some of the whiskeys we're going to taste tonight. But glad to see you all here. First of all, how are the three of you doing right now at the conclusion of it seems like it's been a long month, or did it go by quickly? What do you think?
Both.
Blazing fast.
Blazing fast.
I would say a busy couple of weeks. You know, it's really with the Speyside, Lowland, Highlands 1 week, and Isla the next week. It was 2 weeks of just all go, no stop, and it was busy. It was good.
Yeah. Well, for everybody in chat, like it's been a great festival season. We're looking back and we released some of, I think, our most anticipated whiskeys of the year. I mean, I say that, but at the end of the day, there's a lot every single month. Every month, I feel like is a festival of sorts. But it was really exciting. I think overall, we were kind of split up. Scott and I, we got to come on the channel and do the Speyside, Lowland, and Highland whiskeys and really have a great tasting. And then Charlie and Jenna, you guys got to do the Campbellton and Isla tasting as well. And so, as I admitted earlier, there are some of these whiskeys I haven't tasted yet. So this is kind of the round around. And what we'll do tonight is we'll go through, I think, all the rare releases that we've released rarely earlier this month. And I know a lot of members have ordered some of these bottles, and so it should be an opportunity to taste through them together. And I guess for the four of us here, definitely, kind of hear from each other in terms of our opinions and thoughts on the whiskeys and overall experiences. Before we get started, I'm just curious for everybody in chat and, everybody, I guess for you as well, what's been a standout whiskey from this festival release season this last month? Is there one in particular that you've really been enjoying? I know many members bought many bottles over the last few weeks, so I hope that some of you have some uncorked tonight. Is there a whiskey that stood out? And maybe we'll start with the three of you. Is there one in particular that is kind of you've been enjoying?
I don't want to give out any spoilers yet because mine is probably in this lineup, which most people watching would probably guess. So.
Is it the red label that's in the can?
Real quick, I would say though too tonight. So tonight we are tasting just the rare releases, the distillery rare releases, the 7 bottles there, the single casks we're not going through tonight, and there were several of those outstanding casks as well. But tonight just the rare releases. So mine may be in here.
Interesting. Yeah, look, we talked long about this. We said how many whiskeys would we go through tonight? We wanted to keep it civil and organized, but also thorough. So I think what were there in total? 10 whiskeys, I think released for the festival. 11. Okay.
11. Yeah.
So we'll do 7 tonight. We'll do the 7 rare releases, which are all a creation of Ewan Campbell, who's the Society's head of whiskey creation. That's his title now, I guess. And really, really exciting whiskeys. I think the reception's been pretty positive. I'm just following along in chat here. And me, my wife, and whiskey, the 3 of them said Distillery 64 Luscious Velvet is fantastic.
So not to spoil, but that was my just absolute stunner of the bottle. I had one from the week 1 and one from the week 2. And so I only got a sample that Scott was gracious enough to provide for me of that Distillery 64 rare release. And it just bowled me over. I didn't see it coming. I watched your guys' live stream and I was like, that I had to send you guys a message the next day and be like, was it really that good? And you were both of you separately came back to me like, oh, that's the one. And so I was like, I came in with sky high expectations on it and it still knocked my socks off. So that one, to have such high hopes and for it to even still jump the bar on that just doesn't happen often enough anymore in the world of whiskey, in my view.
Yeah, it was a transformative moment for Scott and I doing it live and then, revisiting a couple of times. Anyway, we'll be tasting it tonight together in a little bit. Jenna, how about you? Any standouts, things you're excited to revisit tonight?
So I haven't tasted all of them, I have to say. But what I have tasted, it was the one that I was least expecting to kind of knocked me off my feet. And I just, like, even when I was tasting it, I was like, Jenna. And then I was just like, oh my God, I can't like get around it. This whiskey's so fantastic. So definitely had, can't say the F word, but not that F word. No favorites, but one that definitely I fell for sure.
Like I say, we usually reserve the F word for like the 5th or the 6th whiskey we get to not before we even start drinking.
Not that one.
Well, is it? It's in this lineup tonight. You're not revealing it.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. It's in this lineup.
You're gonna reserve. All right. Well, let's come into it, everyone. So I think I'll post the list here, and we'll kind of just come up with an order. And for everybody watching live, or perhaps if you're at home watching the replay, maybe tomorrow or later this week, you got some time and you got a bottle at home, go ahead and pour it along and taste with us. Even if it's not live, whatever. It's better than tasting it by yourself. I don't know. Let's start with the Highlands first. Scott, when we did a tasting here on the channel, we breezed through the Highlands, Bayside, and Lowlands, but let's revisit the Highlands, and I think it's a Distillery 68 rare release. So maybe if you want to just guide us through that one, I'm going to pour Dram for myself. I think everybody else will do the same.
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Distillery 68 rare release. Keep in mind that those that are watching that don't know, I referenced single casks earlier. We're not tasting those tonight. These rare releases were basically small batches that we did where we took several casks from the same distillery. And when I say we, the SMWS main branch in Scotland was responsible for these. But these rare releases are small batches, basically several, butts or hogsheads or barrels were combined to release these. A Distillery 68, this one is named Bake Off, a 14-year-old in our deep, rich, and dried fruits flavor profile. Usually reserved for our sherried whiskeys, Pedro Jimenez, Oloroso Sherry. This one is double maturation. We had refill hogsheads involved in this one and first fill Spanish oak hogsheads, Oloroso hogsheads. So, of course, pushing this one right into that deep, rich, and dried fruits profile. One of my favorite profiles, if not my
No way.
But just to show you the color on this one, if I can get there we go. Nice, rich, golden mahogany hues on this one at 14 years old. Short maturation in the first fill Oloroso hogsheads. Comes through on the palate is but really surprisingly, a lot of leather and tobacco on this one. Milder notes of it, not overflowing with leather and tobacco, but those deep, rich, dark Oloroso notes. And really the leather and the tobacco reserved for a little bit older or even a little bit more pungent Oloroso cask. But I'm going to take a little sip here.
I'm definitely getting like leather and rum raisin with that too, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
A request for anyone in the chat: if you're drinking the same thing we're drinking at the same time, let us know and feel free to throw in any thoughts you have.
Just gorgeous, delicious whiskey. I think on my palate anyway, it's obviously that double maturation. We've got the refill hogsheads and then the Oloroso hogsheads. It's not necessarily a sherry bomb where it's just sherry punching you in the mouth, but obvious at the same time sherry notes, toasted, toffee, honeys. I used to have these or get these brownies that were made with, I think it's called a Chambord. It was kind of a liqueur, and it was they were very rich, kind of a dark chocolate brownie in that Chambord. But I mean, it really reminds me of that. The fudge brownie on this one, gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree with you on the fudge brownie. This is the first time I've nosed or tasted this, and I know how I am with deep, rich, and dried fruits. And this one is freaking fantastic. I really like this. I get the nose is like age, fudge brownie, leather, and like there's a spice element to this, like some kind of baking spice element to this that is just really, really awesome. And it smells just old and wise and leathery, and I don't know. This is really fantastic, and it has great texture on the palate. Like the viscosity of this whiskey. I mean, it is like I'm chewing it. It is really, really good. I really like this.
It's like a dense fudge. I mean, you're just like chomping into it and it's just coating and like almost you can feel that stickiness almost.
Yeah. Like a black cherry fudge
Oh yeah.
or something. Like it's freaking good.
Kind of York. I get York peppermint patty though too. There's really some kind of minty, pepperminty in there with it as well. But there's really a lot going on with this. And this one, there's 2 or 3 at least tonight that I think come off much older. They feel much older than they are. And this one at 14 years, it's one of those that feels 18 to 20 years old, maybe.
I think we talked a couple of weeks ago, Scott, when we tasted this, during the preview, we're talking about the Highlands as being like this largest geographic region in Scotland with so many different distilleries making so many different styles. It's like probably the most diverse region in terms of, the types of whiskeys that are being made. This whiskey is a really good representation of all of it. Kind of if you took all the Highlands, because you have a little bit of the earthiness. It's very rustic in nature, but it also has this refined element, like from the sherry cask, reminds me of some of the distilleries. I mean, a big sherry bomb of a whiskey in the Highlands is Glendronach, like a stone's throw from Speyside. But technically, there's that style. It's missing sort of any coastal element. Of course, you have a lot of distilleries in Scottish, like the coastline in the Highlands, but there is that dense, I think, minerality and just like, I think, dried grass and just this lovely, how do I say, dirt. There's just like a dirt. It's dirty. It's a dirty whiskey. And I just think that's really cool. That's obviously it's a creation, blending of different casks to create, an intended outcome. And I don't know if that was the outcome, but I'm assuming it is because it's bottled in celebration of the Highlands. So
I don't know if anyone read the little write-up I did for like the spotlight on the Highlands, but I was trying to find some fun facts. And of course you mentioned it's the biggest, like most geographically diverse. I was shocked when I realized it's like almost exactly the size of Vermont, because I've driven the Highlands like top to bottom, edge to edge, gone out to the islands, and it feels like you're going forever and everything changes. And Vermont just seems so small. I guess it's just because the US is so big generally, but it kind of blew my mind that those were really close in size.
Or maybe the highway system is probably, I've never been to Vermont. Sure. So, I mean, maybe it's like that. Yeah, that is wild to think. Yeah. Question from Carl here, who says, question for Scott or anyone, but really Scott. Do you keep your peated and your unpeated scotches separate in your infinity bottle? That is a Scott question.
I answered yes real quick, but come to think of it, I've got an infinity bottle going right now and I'm dumping everything in it. So I guess it's kind of sometimes yes and sometimes no.
Okay.
So, but and in the past, I've kept them separate as well. I mean, I still have bottles with sherried whiskeys in it, another bottle with just peated. So it kind of depends, I guess.
Do you have an infinite number of infinity bottles? Sounds like you got a lot.
4.
4finity.
5.
Well, that's Distillery 68. I mean, anybody else tasting this one? I will say that this one, I know it's still available. I don't know. Just to be transparent here, I think what happened is, Scott, we tasted this thing and I was blown away. And then I think we had a couple whiskeys after that maybe captured our attention a little bit more. And tasting this right now, the first whiskey of the night, I feel like this is still one of the better whiskeys I've had in a long, long time. I mean, if you probably agree, it's just like, I think this is the sleeper, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do think this one's opened up with some air though as well. Here we're 2 or 3 weeks later, and my bottle's 3/4 of the way gone, but it's and I think it has opened up a little bit. So
I'd say the same. I've revisited a number of the festival bottles. Just they're so good that I haven't been able to refrain from trying to come back to them. And I know there were a couple that when Jenna and I were first tasting them, I was like, this isn't hitting. It's very good. There are people for whom I know that this is a perfect whiskey, but it's not giving exactly what I expected from this. Like it wasn't a bad whiskey. It just didn't line up with where I thought it was going. And coming back a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I'm like, wait a second, this is the same thing. Like this is bowling me over right now. So pretty awesome to see. I mean, I think if anyone got anything and it's either a little sharp or a little flat, just give it a little time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this one's available if you want it. Probably should mention today's last day of May.
It is.
It is. So technically, it's the last day. If you're not a member yet, you want to join, you'll actually get a $100 festival token or a credit towards any bottle. Additionally, if you're a member, you got a friend who wants to join you as a fellow member or join all of us, you'll get a $100 credit as well if you gift them a membership. But that only goes till midnight Pacific time tonight. It's literally through the month. So I guess you got to act. I don't want to make this sound like a QVC promo, but whatever. It's just I thought y'all want to know. Let's move on.
Well, and you're also assuming that after 7 whiskeys, I'll be able to go monitor the new memberships that come in and properly send the correct amount in the gift card.
You might get $1,000 instead of so,
some will get 1,000, some will get 10. It's
I don't know.
how it's gonna go.
If there was a time, now is the time.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll just say that if you join or if you gift a membership between now and midnight Pacific time, you'll get an extra day for the gift card.
We'd put a little cushion. Yeah.
We'll give them a cushion. I mean, you're right. That's unrealistic to expect. Whatever. Let's get back to the whiskeys. Let's do this. Let's go to the Lowlands. Jenna, do you want to do this one? Because I think we jumped on this. Scott went through it, and I have gone back to this one several times myself in my quiet room here. But Jenna, you were sharing some info. I'd like to tell us about this one that I didn't even realize.
Yeah. So this is gonna be my first time going through this. So getting very just abrupt view of this. As I typically like to do. But so this particular whiskey is a little bit different because this is like as close to bourbon that you can make in Scotland, I would say, as you can get. So this is our 16th grain distillery that we have bottled. It is from Distillery 156. If you are familiar with a newer distillery that we are now bottling from, which is really exciting. So this is essentially a custom bourbon style mash bill. It's a 58% corn. Look at all this, I know, Ben, do something. So it's 50% corn, 21% malted barley, and 21% unmalted rye. It's made in a pot still and then went into heavily charred 24-month air seasoned new oak from Kelvin Cooperage. And to just kind of top, it off, they bottled it at 50% ABV in kind of honor of Bottled and Bond here in the United States. So very cool whiskey, something I've never tasted before, anything like this from the society. So this is I like it when they kind of get a wild hair and do these weird things. And so I'm super stoked to get in it and to taste it. Lowland style Scotch.
And super cool that it's pot still. I mean, that's not even typical always in bourbon, right? And so
grain whiskey. So
I mean, who else other than Willet? I'm trying to think. Willet, obviously they have the pot still. I guess
a number do double distillation.
Yeah.
But exclusively pot still is pretty
Yeah, that is wild.
And I love the name of this, Thunderstorm in a Beehive. That just sounds like I feel like I have to let my Southern accent come out a little bit. Which it does. It does. Get enough whiskey in me and it will be out in full swing. But yeah, I mean, the nose on this is just this is straight up just honey creme brulee.
Oh, I'm looking for it.
Like a little nutty, if you put candied pecans and caramel on top of vanilla ice cream, that is what I'm smelling. I mean, it's just It's a little grassy. There's like some like a hay and like dried grass in there.
To me though, too, when you think of like a bourbon and what you expect on the nose there, and you think, okay, cinnamon, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
brown sugar,
yeah,
caramel, yeah. I mean, you get a lot of those, still, notes associated with bourbon as well.
It is very bourbon forward on the nose for sure.
But there's like a synergy that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
That is really hard to describe. And I mean, I think that information that you shared, Scott, we actually didn't know all that.
Yeah.
We didn't know anything about the mash bill the first time we got the bottles in on the U.S. soil, and then we got to open them here on the channel. We didn't really know all this at the time. And I think I or you or one of us made a comment like, this kind of smells like a bourbon, But the point is, it wasn't so abundantly obvious that it was made in the style of bourbon. It just had some resemblance, but it's its own thing. And I don't know, man. I really, really like this whiskey. I think this will go down as a whiskey that, of all the lineup here we have this month, it's not the first one, and we obviously know this. It's not the first one that everybody will pick up, but at the price point, like what it is, it's a hell of a good whiskey. And that excites me. It's like the ultimate hidden gem, I think.
Yeah. And I have to say that like lowland whiskey, there is this profile on lowland whiskeys that I get on the nose, and it's like I can literally smell it in some of our like distillery fives. Like there is this note. I don't even know what to call it. And this definitely has it. So the lowlands do carry this, kind of identity for me, and that like sweet funk. It's like a sweet funk.
It's like wet hay for me almost.
Yeah, but there's like a sweetness to it. And I guess like if you spilled like, I don't know, like simple syrup into wet hay, there's just like a sweet funk about it. And I definitely get that on the nose. So I'm very excited to taste this. So, well, cheers, fellas.
Cheers. I've been drinking it. I couldn't wait.
I've been drinking it. Whoa.
Yeah.
What the heck? What the hell? What is that?
Yeah. It's got like a nice like little lavender note to it. Like I don't know, there's something, it's like robust and assertive, but there's also something that's very elegant about it. I like the duality of that. It's again, maybe it's because in my mind you smell the bourbon notes and you're expecting it, but the delivery is, I think, really where it sets itself apart from what's familiar.
That's a great call out, because when I was nosing it, I almost expected it to be like a bourbon, like a higher proof bourbon that just kind of like just takes over your whole palate. It gets like in the sides of your cheeks, and it like feels hot and big, and then I took a sip of this and it was like silken and luxurious and elegant, and it didn't really take up my whole palate. It just kind of danced on. It's a very pretty tasting experience with whiskey.
Yeah.
I was surprised that it drinks less like a bourbon to me than it knows like a bourbon. It's kind of straddles that line where you get a lot of those classic bourbon notes, like the caramels and the vanillas, and the oakiness is very clear, but it's wrapped in this like floral kind of, I don't know, like prettier package than bourbon, which can be kind of like straightforward or boisterous. Like it's just a little bit more delicate in how it's put together. And one thing that I really like with this that's changed for me as my little sample here has sat the past 2 weeks is, for me with grain whiskey, kind of across the board. I've tried up to some quite old grain whiskey, and it fades out a bit over time, but it's still pretty always there. Certainly with young grain whiskey I get two notes in particular. One is like a varnish, and one is like a vanilla paint. And they kind of always are there. And it's over the past few weeks really receded out of this one. The first time I tried it, I was like, oh, yep, that's grain whiskey. It gets that distinctive single grain note. And now it's just like effectively gone. So that's just really lovely that it helps bring it back more into that bourbon lane.
Matthew Welch, my sentiments exactly. He said it sounds like Four Roses, because I was just thinking Four Roses does these different mash bills, and they have some that are spicier, some that are more floral. And I want to say it's OESQ is their one that's more floral, just kind of a little bit different. And I was just thinking that before Matthew Welch said that as well.
Yeah, I feel like that this whiskey is like a little bit of everything. Like the nose is, very bourbon forward. I still get that like lowland funk. And then there, like you said, Charlie, there is, when you taste grain whiskeys, from both young whiskeys and old whiskeys, there is, again, like that one kind of identifier that you can pick up in grain whiskey. And it's definitely in this for me as well. So it's like, you really get a little bit of everything in this whiskey. And it's really almost kind of like a mind, the F word you were thinking about, Scott, because like
everybody was thinking it.
Right. You could really sit down with this and like put this in a blind tasting. That would be fun to just like hear what people would think of this whiskey and try to guess exactly what this whiskey is, just because it's so unique.
No one would guess what this is. I think this is like a real snapshot in time and place that we won't see again. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a lot more to come. But this is like different than anything.
I agree. This is wild.
Yeah. The name Thunderstorm in a Beehive. I really do like that, but I question if that is an accurate representation. To me, it's more like spa day in a beehive. Like there's a tranquility to it that that you don't get in a American bourbon.
Did this one have a different name in the UK, or is it Thunderstorm in a Beehive everywhere?
It was like, I think something creme brulee.
Oh, yeah. So this is an American TTB creation. Okay.
Brulee.
I would say too, for a 50%, it comes off very spicy. Almost, I mean, blind, I would think this was quite a bit hotter, probably up in the upper 50s ABV wise. So, and this is one of those too it's only 6 years old. This is one that to me feels much older. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I would never think blind that this is 6 years old.
I'm not with you on the ABV though, Scott. I say it's above 50, but this thing is smooth. I'm not going high 50s. Like I would guess probably 53.
Well, Scott's, he's got a little delicate palate. He doesn't drink enough. He's still seasoning his palate. He's only been doing this for 300 years and tasting 60,000 whiskeys last year. But
doesn't have all that peat influence on it.
But Mamuka in 1977 was no offense to anyone. I guess because we're millennials, we need to be offended. But no offense to anyone. But Scott sells me every single bottle. His face expression, man, you cannot make them up. Scott, if you want to make some facial expressions about the Vaults collection, I think we have somebody who wants to.
Hey, you should send that to us, and then Scott, I'll make some faces with you on those Vault collections.
Yeah.
I'm wondering who Mamuka thought would be offended, Scott or the rest of us. Is it that he makes faces, or that we don't make good enough faces?
No, I think we don't make good enough faces.
Yeah.
That's what I love that. Let's move on. We've got 2 down. We've got 5 more to go, and let's move over to Speyside. And I think I previously volunteered to take this one. This was a total unexpected member favorite, I think, and I think when we look back over the years, at least the years I've been involved myself, I feel like every year there's a whiskey or two, or maybe in a 5-year period of time, there's a couple of whiskeys that, when we go to tasting events and meet up with members, I hear these names, like the names of the whiskeys like come up, like Dancing on a Volcano was one, or no, there was one, I don't know. Sometimes I hear these names.
Dancing on a Volcano? I think
there was one that was like a 30-point something 9-year-old dancing on a volcano. But and there's some, anyway, some of these, there are some like classic society whiskeys that have come up. And I don't know, I'm not saying this is going to be one, but I feel like the reception was very, very similar to some of these big ones that we've had in the past. And that's the Distillery 64 release, Luscious Velvet. And I think, we were talking about this earlier. I got a bottle here. I'm going to pour this. This is the 15-year-old in the Old and Dignified flavor profile. And it is, there you go. So thank you, Charlie, it's made from a combination of first fill Spanish oak Oloroso sherry hogsheads, as well as first fill American oak Pedro Jimenez hogsheads. And then refill bourbon hogsheads. So it is an orchestra of different casks. And admittedly, that is usually, like, for my own personal interest, that's a turnoff to me. I usually kind of shy away from the whiskeys that are blended with so many different casks. But, I think you should give credit where credit's due. And this whiskey, from the moment we poured it, the neck pour, Scott, when we were on the live channel, I was like, I had zero expectations. I think you said, Scott, the way you've told the story is like you saw this old and dignified 15-year-old. Usually the old and dignified profile is for whiskeys that are much, much older. And I think you made a comment like, we'll put that to the test, or I don't know about that. We'll see.
We'll be the judge of that.
We'll be the judge of that. Yeah. And we were completely blown away. And I think part of it for me personally, I'm not, listen, I freaked out a little bit. I revived my Instagram account. I was posting about it. I haven't taken a photo of a bottle with my, my mirrorless camera like in a year. And then I was so excited about it. But I think it's probably because the lack of expectation, because I think the one we'll taste next is obviously has a big brand name. And I think this distillery is one that is very, very unknown. And, but for me, everything was really singing. And I think for the first time in a long time, I felt a lot of pressure because, Scott, you and I were like lushing over it. And I was kind of nervous for a second. Like, were we just on a little whiskey high, or was that really good? And then it was great to see a week later, on Discord and social media, members who picked up a bottle seemed to really, really love it. So if you got it, I just poured some in the glass and we'll all taste along tonight, right now. But immediately for me, you just like, I'm going to try not to get too whimsical and emotional here, but like it's this, the first nose and it has a story to tell. Like instantly, there's like a depth that's so absolute that it's like immediately inviting. You really, really want to smell more. And I like that about a whiskey. Like it kind of, it's humbling in a way. All right, I'm not getting too philosophical, but I'm going in that direction. But no, really, I felt like a real connection with this one, and the depth right away. Obviously, the 3 different cask types of Oloroso sherry, Pedro Jimenez sherry, and ex-bourbon hogsheads lends itself substantially to the creating sort of the multi-tiered approach with this whiskeys. But overall, Sean Spieth says, with the 64, the nose is great, but I feel like it truly shines with the palate.
Mm-hmm. Let's find out. Uh-oh.
Mike B says the sherry influence is in perfect balance, delicious. P. Roy says, I like this one.
We lost your video, Ben.
Oh. Well.
But we can still hear you. Yeah, this one on first sip. I was like, okay, that's why this is in the old and dignified profile, because it's 15 years old, and this is another one comes across way older than 15. And I think blind, I would be thinking this was 20, 25 years old, something like that, because of the richness, the oak tannins on this one, and the way it just really soaks into the palate.
I just wanted to taste that one in the dark, just with my dead camera battery.
He made the best facial expression ever right there.
Well, apparently it wouldn't sell anything. So, only Scott's facial expressions. No, but really, really luscious. I think dark fruits, a little bit of old leather, really, really well balanced. But it's just a very, very tranquil aroma. And yeah,
dusty old books, a lot of leather, a lot of tobacco, rich tobacco juice, toasted, almost a char coming through, grilled fruits, grilled berries.
This guy's doubling down. Of course, I'm a Scott's fanboy. I've never been anybody's fanboy in my life. But his face is a giveaway. You cannot hide it. Lol. He tries hard, but it's a giveaway. What do you try? What does he try hard at? To hold it back, or to? Is that what he's saying? Keep going. Anybody else want to say something about Scott? Well,
I want to say something about the whiskey, if I may.
Yeah, please.
So one of the things, there was like a pivotal moment for me in my relationship with whiskey where I really came to appreciate a finish. And it was the first time that I had a whiskey that like, it actually wasn't just kind of the tapering off of what the palate tasted like, but where I was consciously aware that most of the action happened after I had actually drank the whiskey. You know, like it kept going for 15 minutes, evolving. And well, that's one of the things I appreciate about this is like it just goes on and on and on and on. You don't need to race back into another sip because you're just exploring everything it's got going on.
Chocolates, coconut.
Is that a Black Eyed Peas song? Or who sings that? And it goes on and on and on.
Oh, Dynamite.
Is that what it is?
That's the name of the song. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this whiskey for everybody in the chat watching? It's funny. The third whiskey of the evening. I gotta tell you, we all lushed over this one. Those first two are pretty damn good. I don't know. I still stand by my pick here, but I don't know. I might go back to that 68 after this session's done. Well, I don't know. I think that's the difficult thing. The difficult job to pick one bottle, maybe to pick up order one, order two. You can't always get them all. But yeah,
Really that first one, that 68 is real freaking good.
Yeah.
I do quickly want to point a spotlight at A. Moore's comment that I need some SMWS glassware. So, if we can make that happen, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we might deny the request, but we
Yeah.
got wait till 90 days. No, we're just completely out of stock, and I think we'll have some in stock. Maybe Scott and pretty soon.
Yep, we will have some in stock very soon.
Yeah. So everybody, we're for long, boring, uninteresting, but very red tape reasons, we can't actually sell the glasses, but we usually offer them. Like we do some promotions where if you buy some bottles, a certain period of time, we just include them in a shipment. And things like that. So apologies for that. Yeah. This guy Mamuka is really I think he's scaling back. We love you. We appreciate you and thank you. Thank you. No, we appreciate you as well. And no one appreciates you more than Scott does. So any other thoughts on the whiskey? Sean Speed says texture is pretty oily too. I like that. I like that on whiskey a lot.
Yeah, I love that.
I tend to agree. And Robbie Robson, love that name, says just joined, had a great tour of Distillery 68. Oh, last week. Very nice. Really enjoyed something very similar to the 68 here. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I think Robbie was going to the members' rooms out there as well. So hope you had a good trip.
Yep. It was so good. Ben Fell and the Black Hole. Yep. It was just like the movie, what is it? Interstellar. In the scene when he goes in the fifth dimension. That is exactly my experience when I taste this whiskey. So. All right, nerds. Let's move on. I think whiskey number 4 of the evening. You know it, you love it, you like to know it, you think you know it, but you definitely love it. Let's do this one. It's Distillery 64 rare release. Scott, you want to take us through this one? Because I just know.
Distillery 24 rare release.
Did I say 64?
You said 64.
Oh, wow.
He just wants to run it back.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been waiting patiently.
No, you haven't been. You've been waiting, but not patiently. I saw you pouring that bottle.
14-year-old from Distillery 24, massive oak extraction, and that is not an understatement here. Of course, from Speyside region, first to fill Spanish oak Oloroso hogsheads and refill American oak Pedro Jimenez hogsheads, whopping 63% ABV. Unfortunately, this is one of those that has sold out, just like the 64 as well. But, and there's the nose that does not disappoint. Rich, dark fruits, cinnamon, all those baking spices, caramels, fudges, toffees. All those rich, decadent, chocolatey desserts.
This smells like the way I remember this distillery smelling, like in the old days.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but quick comment. Matthew Walt says, definitely bought my bottle limit on this one and do not regret it. First of all, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you. That's a smart move. But there was an earlier comment, and I won't scroll back and find it, but the question about bottle limits in general, if they still apply. We've actually lifted the bottle limits, I think, as of last Friday. Was it? We wanted to put the 2 bottle limits just to make sure as many members got a chance to get a bottle, because I understand with, the demand for some of these whiskeys in the past, we've had some buy up a lot, and the whole point of the festivals is to obviously spread the love. But yeah, after a couple of weeks, we decided to go ahead and lift it. So of course, this one's not available anymore, but the others, in fact, are.
Yeah. My favorite of the rare releases, my favorite. So now there was 1 or 2 single casks that are pretty good too, that maybe I'll get back into here. But no, we're not doing the single cask tonight. But yeah. All right.
We should do a battle royale, 64 versus 24, Ben versus Scott. It wouldn't be the first time we went head to head. It wouldn't be the first time I won either.
No.
0.1 point, or what was something? It was something crazy.
Sorry.
Every time he's got to bring it up to half a point.
Dang,
You won by half a point.
I have nothing. I've got nothing going on since my high school sports days. Come on, let me just live in the blind tasting victory.
Well, there were
Charlie,
some
I competed
people
with Scott live in public in front of the world, and really 30 people in a blind tasting challenge that Jenna set up for us. And as you can tell, I won by a half of a
handily.
It was like
So
coin toss.
it's funny that you guys have these varied preferences, because I don't know, Scott and Jenna, if you got questions when these were both still available, but I saw a number of debates going on the Discord and people reaching out and asking, if they can only get one of these 2, which should it be?
Mm-hmm.
And I leaned in a bit to that. I think this is one of the most aptly named society whiskeys we've ever released. Is like, if you really like that oak influence, and the color is a dead giveaway if you saw it, but if you really like that oak forward, tannic, I don't want to say hyper aged almost character to the whiskey, then there's no question this is the right whiskey for you. If you want something that's a little bit more balanced between oak and distillate, if you want something that shows off the variety of casks like Ben was saying, then I think it's easy. It's the other one, but it all comes down to personal preference, and that's just one of the awesome things about whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this one is definitely, this is a sherry bomb. And, some people, sherry bombs, they don't hit their palate. They don't like them. They do like that more kind of a double maturation or the lighter sherry influence. This one is sherry bomb. All the way through. And it's just, to me, it's gorgeous. This is what I expect from exclusive maturation with Distillery 24. It's so dark and chewy. And it's like all of those chocolatey fudge notes I was bringing up. And it's a berry fruit drizzled reduction where all those flavors are just concentrated and just packing in on the palate.
I have to say that when I nosed this for the first time, I bought a bottle for myself.
Wow.
And I'm not a sherry bomb kind of gal. And I nosed it, and it was like nostalgic for me almost. And I was like, I have to have this. So I picked up a bottle for myself because on just the nose alone, I was like, I'm sold. Like, it's so good.
I'll echo what you said, Jenna. Like, for me, one of the things with a real sherry bomb is that a lot of the times the nose or palate can kind of converge, right? When there's too much of that cask influence, they can kind of blend together and cover up some of their differentiation. But when you nose this one, I'm right there with you that this tastes like a different generation of whiskey production. It just has that kind of old world style to it for sure. Even though definitely present, very heavy sherry influence, lots of chocolate, fudgy, like even dry cocoa powder, like what you'd make chocolate milk with. It's got all of that going on. But then there's just like old books and dusty libraries and just a different take on malt than what you find in a lot of today's off the shelf releases.
Yeah.
Really, though, I mean, it's on par with several of the other Distillery 24 releases we've had over the last year and a half, 2 years. I think they've all been really good, really phenomenal. And
all been 30 years old,
oh yeah.
No, well, we had like
No,
last year we had a
12.
few 12 years. Last year was
12
the
year,
year 12.
13-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We did have a few, and look, I mean, I would argue that we've taken a similar approach with blending of both Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez sherry. I think in the case of like our single cask, there are truly single cask. We've transferred like Oloroso sherry butts, or the whiskey inside Oloroso sherry butts to PX hogsheads. I think usually. The duality of the PX and Oloroso is not something you get from the distillery, so it's a totally different representation, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know. So, but you're right. It's. I think maybe the similarities probably lie in the fact that they're all massive oak extractions. You know what I mean? It's a big, bold sherry cask, and sherry is such a dominant flavor within the whiskeys. And I think, Charlie, you're right to say, like, if for some people this is totally your thing, for some people maybe it's not your thing, but if it's your thing, man, it's a hell of a thing.
Everybody too, just run your tongue along your teeth and your gums right now, and just feel all that tannin and juiciness that you're still pulling out of there. Delicious.
This is a winner for sure.
Well, I mean, Scott, you'll probably spend some more time with it later tonight. But maybe until then, let's move on. But no, look, I understand this bottle was probably probably the most popular of the festival season. Maybe just based on the comments I've been seeing in social and Discord. So I hope you all enjoy it. And I saw a couple comments I wanted to post real quick. T-Roy said, "So in love with this 24. Only wish I could have bought 2." Mamuka says, "The only thing I regret I didn't get 2. The only thing I regret I didn't get 2. 2. Oh, TWO without the W. Okay. Only thing. So you got 1 at least. Got it. Okay. Sorry." Sean Speed said, "Am I crazy, or does this 24 have a bit of saltiness on the palate?" Did you guys get any of that?
Yeah. There's some sea salt on caramel there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a brownie with coarse ground sea salt on top.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on. That was a hell of a.
This one, the rest of this one, by the way, is not going in the infinity bottle.
We'll be continuing on to the coast, and Scott will still be.
Yeah.
Just sipping that one. Yeah, this next one, I'll take it if I may. Scott, I don't know if this one is your style, but it is definitely my style. So we are next going to head out to Campbellton, and very excited that we had 2 Campbellton releases today. I think Jenna's grabbed the wrong one there. We will be drinking my favorite name of the bunch, Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Funnels. Thank you to the member who pointed out what they meant by funnels when Jenna and I could not figure that out on the tasting we did a few weeks ago. This is an 8-year-old lightly peated whiskey coming in at 60.2%, and it was aged in a number of first fill barrels. So for me, I think this is awesome because Campbellton, when people ask me to describe the different regions of Scotland, and Ben's already done a very good job describing kind of how hard it is to pin down the Highlands, and we get all the fruity notes from Speyside, and people typically say kind of light grassy for lowlands, although that's a bit reined in. What I like to say, and of course Isla's peat. What I like to say for Campbellton is it's like you blended all of them together in one place and then gave it its own style. Like this is the malts that come out of Campbellton are so complex that yes, of course they can be great if you put them in casks, in finishing casks, but I love to just explore how they work kind of naked. And so getting something at 8 years old that's actually been blended with some real mastery, and then it's just been let do its work. It's been put out there to sing in those first fill casks. I mean, this is just a fun one. Can't do the paper at the same time. But so I don't know. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to try it, Scott and Ben.
I have not yet. This is my first, but I do want to say, Charlie and Jenny, you guys did the live stream, and I don't care what people say. 2.5 hours is not too long to go on a live stream.
Was it 2.5 hours?
If you're sipping boba, Georgia boba, it can't be too long.
I haven't had this one yet, so I am looking forward to this one. So, and the next one I have not had.
So compared to what we've been drinking, right, it is much lighter. It's got like almost a little bit of green in that color, which is kind of fun. It's like a light yellow with a hint of green in there. It's in the lightly peated category. And when Jenna and I first tried this, we actually thought it was more peated than the Distillery 3 rare release. It had a pretty solid punch. But this is another one that I've revisited a few times, and I actually think it's really settled into itself very nicely. And the peat presents itself in this really interesting way that I get most often only from Campbellton. I really love. It's like freezer burn vanilla ice cream mixed with engine fumes. Take those two notes, think about it for a minute. You get a little bit of like...
when your ice cream is freezer burned, do you like proceed in eating it? Or have you
I don't like it on ice cream, but I love it in whiskey.
Okay. That was because, yeah. I've gotten the point in life where I just like, I'll eat it anyway. But yeah. So when you said that, I was like, oh, this sounds good.
And like coming back into it, I'm getting the full ice cream parlor. Like going back to my childhood, linoleum floors. You get the refrigerant. You're getting the freezer burn. Like it's just all of that in here. And then some of that Campbellton funk still coming through.
I get like a lavender Epsom salt, or maybe not a lavender, but it's like a it's Epsom salt, herbal. Yeah.
I just learned you enjoy baths. That's good to know, Scott.
Yeah, I won't expand anymore.
Mamuka might get a little too happy.
He's gonna start taking baths. I feel like there's the style. I think Charlie, you're right. Like it's such an enigma. But yet at the same time, it's like the whole style of the region does pull in parts of all of Scotland. But there are only three working distillers right now in the region, so it's like the style is defined like so narrowly. But I remember kind of visiting this distillery and trying some whiskeys, very variety, and my conclusion was my personal preference was the first fill bourbon barrel with this spirit. Like I just think it's a magical combination, and I'm not discounting the spirit sort of in its peated form in sherry casks or wine casks, or there's all of it. But the first fill bourbon barrel, I think, brings a freshness to something that's fresh in a different way. It's like there's the creaminess, the warmth of the bourbon barrel with the cold coastal nature of this very industrial spirit. I think you did such a great job of describing it. It's just there's so much to it. And individually, like the components are not appealing, like the freezer burn ice cream or engine fuel. But together, like there's a harmony that is clearly desired now by the whiskey enthusiast, considering the popularity of whiskey from the region, and yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but I saw a thing that there have been applications to open another 3 distilleries.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well. So I know the 3 are still operating right now, but I think.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Fields of interest. Yeah, it's about to blow up. Used to be the largest region in Scotland,
in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
And that is true. Okay, I remember hearing that years ago that it was like obviously decimated by American Prohibition. Like
it's
right?
Prohibition. It's also they industrialized Scotland with roads and railroads, so everything went by sea. So Campbellton had a massive advantage. They would ship down to England, etc. But once they had the rail in, it was much more economical to ship that way. And then there's a great Ponzi scheme story where someone was heavily speculating and taking people's money to build new distilleries, and then once the first card fell, they went down pretty fast.
I would gladly take anyone's money to buy more of this whiskey, for what it's worth. puns.
Have you tried it? Did you all jump in? I've been just
Yeah.
nosing it. Way
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
I'm going to stick with my Epsom salt and lavender. There's a nice floral note with this, but peaty. It's like a burnt. It's oily, burnt oil, but also like burnt leather. But citrusy at the same time, sweet, salty, nice. It's very delicious.
And I feel like I disagreed with this when Jenna and I tasted it a week or two ago, but now I feel like lightly peated is actually the right lane for it. It's really settled into itself. That peat is now kind of just a background actor on all of these notes that Scott's just running through.
And that is the flavor profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because the single cask was the Oiling Coast Hill.
Yeah,
correct. Yep.
Yeah, very nice. And that's my first go with it. But yeah, beautiful. They're very nice whiskey.
Yeah. I'm into it. It's funny. I haven't added a drop of water to a single whiskey so far tonight.
Me neither.
I have been.
Yeah. Well,
aren't we all? I know Jenna hasn't.
No. I just noticed. I was like, actually, I haven't. But I don't. Maybe it just goes to show where I'm at mentally right now.
They're all drinking really nice. I mean, this is 60.3%. I think I would have guessed lower.
Yeah.
The only one I think that was drinking higher than its proof was the grain, but it was at 50%. So for it to be drinking a little higher isn't actually so bad.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to I suppose we should go to Isla next. And admittedly, I haven't tried this one yet. Let's do this Distillery 3 by release.
Let's do this.
Well, let me edit this so I can do this thing. There we go. So presumably, I know that there were a lot of bottles out there, and I think a lot of members picked one up. So again, if you're at home and you had a bottle of this Distillery 3 by release, go ahead and pour yourself a dram, taste along with us, whether you're watching this live right now or the replay. If you've made it this far on the replay, congratulations. You're a proper whiskey nerd. I mean, we're almost an hour in.
Jenna, that was like the longest cork pull I've ever heard as well.
Was that mine?
Was it whoever was opening it was like
That was like creaking ships lost in the fog.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that whiskey.
That was like such an inside joke.
I wish I had 8,000 bottles of that. Oh my gosh.
I've got like a third of the bottle left.
Oh my gosh.
Just
Mine was gone long.
Yeah. That was a 21-year-old Lafroig from way back when.
The old days. But let's
I remember that one.
Oiling Coastal, Black Label, 21 years old. I think French Oak Brick.
They had that at an Outturn preview tasting event. I remember trying that.
Really?
That was like way back in the day. Yeah.
Or that was the early like Black Label day when we just decided let's do Black Labels, not Vaults Collection, Black Labels. But we'll just take the ribbon off and get rid of the box, and that's all expanding soon. But anyway.
Whoa.
So yes, rare release from this has to be second fill hogsheads and second fill Spanish oak Oloroso hogsheads on this one. This is bottled at 56.9% ABV, and I have to say this is the one that totally just took me by surprise. I mean, this one crept up and just totally just got me. Really, really, really like this whiskey a lot. We've had some old whiskeys from this distillery, over the last year or so that, I've enjoyed, and, but they weren't ones that I would like always pull off the shelf kind of thing when I was wanting something, peaty. But this whiskey just, I don't know what it is. I just, from nosing it to tasting it, I just totally fell in love with this. And I think it's because on the nose, like it has age to it, that the nose definitely shows some age. But it also shows this like vibrancy to it. And one of my favorite notes to find in whiskey is like a brand new pool float. Like when you open up the package.
Oh yeah.
Float. And I get that so much on this whiskey that it's like luxurious pool float. I don't know how else to like describe it. I feel like I'm in some very fancy place, floating in a pool on a very fancy float, drinking this whiskey. It's just beautiful. I just love the nose of this whiskey.
I get a smoked key lime pie.
Ooh,
Wow, spot on.
So,
on my float in the pool.
it's so tangy.
Yeah, it is.
Anyone get plaster? Like if you're repairing something, you got to put some putty plaster on there.
I mean, there's like a,
I know what you mean, but I'm not getting a ton of it.
yeah, I don't want to say like antiseptic note, but there is like a medicinally like freshness, like that fresh, clean kind of medicinal thing happening on the nose too. But
Big time lime.
yeah, like luxurious and like elegant and like I don't know, it just like captures all of it. It just sucks me into the glass. I can't take it.
I feel like this might sound, I mean, it's unpretentious, but obviously it's in good company. But I feel like this one in a blind tasting would be easily identifiable. You know what I mean? As to where the spirit came from, the distillery of origin and what it is, kind of sort of the rough age. You know what I mean? That's neither a good nor bad thing. Well, it's definitely not a bad thing. But like I think it's an Isla, obviously a celebratory whiskey, but I think given that it's sort of more lightly peated, it's easy to narrow down, you know, where this came from. The presence of the Spanish oak, I think if you're really looking for it, you'll find it there. But it's very, very, it's like a whisper. I think it just sort of warms the cold coastal spirit without really transforming it too much, you know. So, but I don't know. I mean to say in all the best ways, it's a textbook, I think, expression.
Yeah, it's one that I was not expecting to just on paper be as like over the moon for it as I am. And when it's amazing. Go ahead. Sorry.
We diverged on this one, where for me, I think this was the opposite of the 64 rare release, where I came in with really high expectations and then tried it and it just didn't meet them.
That was before.
And then, but I've tried it again. Like all of these, I've gone back and revisited. And, you know, we had the little joke, which bottle was going to come with me to the bachelor party. And I was like, I think I'm going to do this because it's actually like very approachable peat. It has that maturity. It'll really impress people. And it's kind of the one that let me down versus my expectation the most. And the day before I was going to go, I tried it again just to make sure I was right. And I was like, what the hell are you thinking? This is beautiful whiskey. You can't bring this to that. And so I ended up keeping it. I didn't bring it. I was like, I can't do it. Yeah. It's too good. It's too good. So I have come around. I don't know if I'm as smitten over the moon with it as you are, Jenna, but it was a sin to disparage this whiskey just because my expectations were sky high. This is very good stuff.
Yeah,
but that's fair. That's fair. You know, that's. I think we all go through that where we form an opinion, whether it's expectations or the root of the cause or not. Like we all go through it, and then I've done a 180 on whiskeys before.
Yeah, but this one, no, it's like a sweet peat for me, and it just is different, I think, than anything else that I've had. And
there's a nice roasted nuttiness with it. I need to spend more time with Distillery 3, but you know, we've only had it seems like 17-year-old and then this 18-year-old whiskey's released over the last year. But I need to come in with some younger ones and try. It really reminds me of a few years back, the off-the-shelf Lafroig 18. This one real, I mean, because of the kind of the citrusy, honeyed, the 18 years on this one, the level of the peat is really sweet on the palate.
It's
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's why I like it, that it's like a sweet peat. Like it tastes like what I would imagine like summer on Isla would be like, you know, like I haven't been, so I don't know, but it's just what I imagine it to be like. It's just like sweet. It's fun, but it's like beautiful and exotic and just luxurious. And I don't know. It's just a really freaking good whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, I find with all these whiskeys on our shelves, like look behind us, it's kind of sick. But nonetheless, I do find that you know, on my own, when I'm looking for, like, I have quite a few bottles from Distillery 3 back there, and I go there often, like much more often than I give credit to or talk about. And I'm just kind of realizing that right now. I'm just, when I'm on my own, just, I want something a little bit smoky, but like, I don't know. I got a lot going on right now. I don't want to like get really knocked over. I've been going with this often, and I'm just kind of like coming to terms with that right now on this live on the stream. But yeah, so I'm glad you didn't bring in the bottle of that bachelor party, Charlie.
Yeah,
I think, this is something I think over time, it can age. I mean, not age in the bottle, but like, be around and be accessible.
I think it's a style of whiskey that isn't, like you're saying, there's so many things on these shelves behind us, and this actually kind of sits in a lane that not that many whiskeys pull off really well, because a lot of the time, look, the peat is really delicate. The peat is definitely present, but it's kind of at a lower level, right? They've turned the volume down on it, but it still has that young kind of smoky punch with all of those fruity Distillery 3 notes going on. A lot of time when peat ages, the smoke disappears and it turns into earthy, and that's beautiful. I absolutely love that. But sometimes you want a little bit of smoke still in there with all of that maturity, and it's really hard to come by something that can be subtle and kind of young, punchy fun that way.
Right. Like it's like a old yet lively and punchy, and I'm shocked, to be honest, that this is the one that totally just got me. I was not expecting it at all.
Though I am going to say it's still a mistake to me that this is in a higher peat category than the Distillery 93 rare release. Like, this thing is so gentle, light, beautiful on the peat to me.
This is a higher peat category?
This is in just straight peated.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think this could have been old and dignified for an Isla malt, or this could have been lightly peated.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I would definitely put this at lightly peated. But I mean,
close.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fine. I think we were talking about that a couple streams ago, like about just the classification of these. You've got 12. We have 12 flavor profiles, and some of them are just quintessential. Others are like, I can go either way. You know what I mean? And you got to pick a lane eventually. I agree with you. This is, on paper, a lot of the other single casts we've had from this distillery of this age have all been lightly peated. Obviously, the barley's malted to what, like 25 ppm? Is that right? I don't know. Very low, like obviously in production, and so the outcome over almost closer to 2 decades is definitely very, very, I think, light. This one's still available. Obviously, bigger price tag than some of the other ones we've tasted. I totally get that, but
invite some friends, get some festival tokens, and
that's true. That's true. You got a few more hours of the tokens left. What do we have? 6 hours less than 6 hours to get a token. If you join, you get $100. Or if you gift a membership to a friend, please do. It really helps us out, and we can keep us going. And allows us to have these beautiful moments. But also, Mamuka said we should toast everyone who sacrificed their lives so we can have this beautiful moment right now. God bless his souls and make us raise the glass, and appreciate them every single time. You've come a long way from, I buy everything Scott tells me to buy, to a proper toast. So cheers, everybody, for what that's worth. Thank you. Very nice sentiment. Matthew Welch says Distillery 3's 15-year-old release, The Darkest, was one of my first loves. Oh, love that. Simple name.
I love that whiskey, but I have a personal gripe with it that I have to bring up every time.
Oh God! What are the chances that someone brought up this one whiskey?
Oh, it happens a lot. It happens more than you would think, because that's also the whiskey that really turned me on to Distillery 3 back in the day. But I don't have an issue with them calling it The Darkest. But for people who don't know that most whiskeys on the shelf have food coloring in them, and that is one of them, it to me is just such like a gut punch when I learned that the reason it's the darkest is because it has the most food coloring, not just because of it being that dark. That's one of the things I love about what we do, that I love about the people who are totally transparent about it. It's like when you see a really dark whiskey and it's put right on there, natural color, all that, it's just like, that's freaking impressive. So for them to try and take that claim, but cut corners, I don't know. I've always had a little bit of a gripe with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay.
That's all.
Matthew's now sulking at home.
It's still a delicious whiskey. It's still a really lovely whiskey to drink.
No,
I just can't look at it.
Oh, well, Matthew says it was one of his first loves.
Yes.
So
I mean, people get divorced, and maybe he doesn't love it anymore. But no. I think it's a good point. Probably the flagship, or maybe I don't know if it still is today, but you think of like Ardbeg, you think of Ugadal, think of Bowmore, you think of the darkest. And then I bought out like years ago, like 8 years ago, the third release or whatever, the darkest. I don't know. I went through that whole thing. Okay, let's move on. I think this is our last whiskey.
Yeah.
And who's doing this one?
I'll do it.
We're doing the 53.
53 rare release. This is our last whiskey of the night. It is, again, an Isla. And we have a lovely name that got people very excited the other day when we did this, Floral Petrichor. What sounds better than that? I mean, that's just such a lovely combination of things. We're at 56.8% ABV, 14 years, and we have a lot of casks here. So it's a combination of first fill American Oak PX, first fill American Oak X Bourbon, refill American Oak PX, and refill American Oak X Bourbon. So you're getting the quadrilogy of casks in this one. It is going big. It is going bold. And
I mean, is Richard Patterson here at this rate? I mean, I feel like that's the, I don't know, thinking all of his whiskeys, like the sub. All right, whiskey joke. All right, move on. The 7 wood, the Jura 7 wood. Okay, you guys, never mind.
I'm just going to keep going.
There are 3 people in the chat who know what I'm talking about and appreciate that comment.
I do, but it's not what we're here to talk about, Ben. We're here to talk about this beautiful whiskey.
All right, the darkest. Go ahead. All right.
This one is actually very dark. This is the darkest. No, it's not the darkest thing we're drinking tonight. That was massive oak extraction. No question about that. This might be number 2.
Wow.
It is really punchy on the nose with that sweet charred fruit mixed with the notes that I think this distillery is really known for. I get a lot more like dried leaves, autumn walk in the forest from this distillery normally, mixed with mineral, coastal, wet rock, all that kind of stuff. A lot of it present here, but very perfumey. That floral element that they mention on the label, totally here.
Okay.
A little bit of hot dog water. Anyone else get that?
Is this one still available?
Had a little Limp Biscuit.
Not intended. Definitely not intended.
All right.
Maybe a bit more Memorial Day weekend barbecue.
Wow. I'm sorry. This is my first time. I admit this is the first time I've tasted this whiskey or knows this whiskey. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
This
like
is really, really something on the nose.
this
Wow.
has changed since I was
Wow.
here last.
Okay.
And-
this is really okay. I'm like, wow. I'm 2 weeks late to the party. This is fucking brilliant. Like,
So
this is
I've
so
tried
cool.
this a few times, and every time until tonight, I've tried it side by side with the single cask, which is a single cask PX. So presumably it's from the same lot of PX casks that got blended into this one. And I go back and forth all the time. Like, it was so obvious to me at first, and even the second try, that I preferred this one, then I preferred the other one. I've come back to this one. It is so well crafted, and you really get a ton of complexity from that blending process. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm normally someone who prefers the oddities of single cask, all the different directions it can take you. This is one that shows that blending can really truly be done to add a lot of complexity and dimensionality.
Does anybody else have this at home? I saw some comments earlier that the report. Matthew Welch says, I didn't get the 53 rare, but I got the 53 single cask. I'll pour that. Hey, you're just one step away, not too far at all. And he also says 300. Okay, wow. All right. 322 bottles of this still at 321 in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, it's like throw the cork away from the gathering last year. I mean, it was as well. We had a lot of bottles of it. It hung around on the website for quite a while, and that was just another Distillery 53. It was just gorgeous, and this is right in there with it. But the chocolatey, fruity, smoky nose on this, Ben, when you nosed it right away, you were like, "Oh my God, this is beautiful." And it is. It's a beautiful nose. It's a beautiful palate whiskey as well.
Anyone else getting like mesquite? Almost more like American.
Yeah, that's
smoke?
a really good way to put it.
It's like a sweeter,
Yeah.
more barbecue-y smoke than I don't know. I think this distillery can often be kind of industrial and like not as coastal as like a Lafroig, but very coastal in its influence.
It's almost more like a smoky barbecue sauce. And that's probably like that PX bringing in some of that syrupy molasses, some of that brown sugar notes in there with it.
I like this way more than I did 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, this is like what happened in 2 weeks. What was going on in that bottle? Like, this is glorious.
It's awesome that everything I've tried that I've revisited, I like more than I did when I tried it before. There hasn't been anything, and I'm saying this totally honestly, there hasn't been anything that I'm revisiting and I'm like, oh, that kind of fell off.
And I encourage people, if everybody all the time, if you try whiskey and you don't like it, give it another shot, at another time, because so many things happen with our palates, or just when we're tasting a whiskey, what time of the day, that can greatly impact, how we perceive it. So I always encourage people, give it one more chance. And majority of the time, it's better, on the second time than what they remember the first.
Totally.
I am ordering a bottle right now.
Hey, Ben, you don't need to rush. I don't think. I don't know how many people are watching.
No, I can't wait any longer. I'm actually going to order this. Yes, for a friend, I think.
Yeah, this is.
I want to send him a bottle. I think he would really like this. So.
I have to say though that this distillery in sherry is just always a treat. Like, I don't know, 53.391 Dark Secrets.
Oh yeah.
Whiskeys.
And that was a second fill Oloroso. I remember that one as well.
I'm like doing this like side by side. I keep it on my desk, which I shouldn't. I need to hide it. But I mean, 53 and sherry is like always just a no-brainer.
Yeah, that one was gorgeous as well.
I've got a bottle that's in a Hermitage wine cask from this distillery. Also just crazy. Like, because wine can be so divisive. A wine cask. Sherry and malt go together like classically, beautifully. It makes a lot of sense. Wine can be so variable. And it's so interesting seeing how the coastal minerally notes of this play with wine casks as well.
I just want to see it in Sauterne. I just want to taste
it. You think that would...
in Sauterne. I can't recall having one.
No. I mean, you think we're speculating. What would that be like?
I don't know. I want to know though. I want to know what that tastes like.
It'd be so curious because it'd be like so sugary with
well, I would say like this
salmon
though is the ultimate canvas, right? I mean, it's obviously owned by Diageo, used for Johnny Walker as the smoky note. And I it's just at home, like blending cocktails and stuff. I find that the flavor profile. Again, I'm pulling like just ex-bourbon hogsheads around 10 years old. Like I find it is the best base. There's a reason why it's like I feel like it's clearly engineered to be the smoky note of Johnny Walker as it is. Most of it goes there. So anyway, I would find that for any Islay whiskey, like it's probably, I don't know, the best suited. Well, maybe not the best, but it certainly would be up there. But it's still pretty interesting. Yeah, the sugary softness of Sauterne with. Yeah. I think.
Someone do it, please, Diageo. Do it.
I wonder.
Do it. for me.
I think we should.
I feel like it could be the best thing or the worst thing.
I know. That's why I just
Yeah.
But we need to know.
I need to know.
And we, as human beings, we must know the answers. That's like hard.
I think this is one of the underrated distilleries. I know it's getting more of a following, but there were like years where I was buying pretty much every 53 the Society released. I think it's the distillery I have the most bottles of. And I remember going to tastings and members just being like, it's too like industrial, it's too gritty, it's not refined enough. And I don't know, I've always loved it in part for that. I think it's such a fun whiskey as a result of that.
This is one of those whiskeys. Our distillery 53s, like Robbie Robson points out, he doesn't like off the shelf distillery 53s, but the SMWS bottlings, when you take a whiskey at cask strength, and a single cask whiskey, even though this one is a rare release, but all of our 53s, when you don't bring them down and those single cask influences, I tell people our 53 releases are all just phenomenal. And we're up to 440 some casks now that we've bottled from Distillery 53, and they just don't disappoint.
I agree. I think it's the most consistent distillery we bottle without question. I've never had a Distillery 53 that I've just been like,
yeah.
Like, I have loved every single one. And I have a lot of 53s, and those bottles are pretty close to being empty. I mean, that's what I go to a lot. And I'm always excited to see.
I didn't. So yeah, since Ben and I did the Lowland, the Speyside, and the Highlands, so we got those bottles to sample. I didn't get the Islas, and I ordered on my own. Like Ben just now ordered this one. I bought this one with my own money, and then the 53 rare cask or the single cask as well. Because I'm like, they're 53s. They're going to be phenomenal, whiskeys.
Yeah, I would say of all the whiskeys we had tonight, this is number 7. This one commands the most attention, and maybe that's obvious because it's a peated Isla. It usually does. But just the nature, the composition of the casks and the spirit and the whole profile. I feel like the other ones leading up to this, relative to this one, are just like could be part of the furniture. Like they can accompany you on a day or a moment. This one is the moment. I find you can sit in an empty room where like Charlie, you're holding up that white paper with just a glass. Like there's just this emptiness, like soul sucking nature of like the display of just a liquid in a white background. And I feel that there's like enough going on. Maybe that's not fair to say that the others weren't, because now that I described it that way. But do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this is an event whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And this is not my favorite whiskey of the night. It's not generally my style of whiskey, although I liked it a lot more this time. The Distillery 24 rare release fully commands your attention. You're not passing that thing by without noticing it.
Right here, I'm refreshing your memory.
No, it's funny, right? As I'm trying to describe this, you're right to call out at it. I'm look back. I was like, well, hold on a second. The 64, like I could have sit in a white room with that one too. But I think it's probably because the outcome of this whiskey is I don't know. I feel like there's like multiple things firing. It's not as harmonious as the 24 or the 64. And that's not a bad, I mean, for some people, that's not a bad thing. Like it's just, there's a lot going on, and it's just like, where am I? Your attention. It's
Christopher Walken.
I'm over here. Like it's a different type of experience. If this makes,
cowbell.
And I don't mean to say that the others aren't worthy. This
is the one that did that for me the most.
Honestly, we were talking about YouTube thumbnails earlier. This is like the clickbait. Not that the outcome of clickbait is that it's a waste of time, but when we were talking about the design of YouTube thumbnails, like what catches your attention, this like just on the surface catches your attention. And when I first noticed it for the first time, I had a different reaction than others. Anyway.
For me, this 10.240 festival release we just did, I know we're not tasting it tonight, but someone literally commented when Jenna and I were tasting it that they lost me, and it seemed like I had just, in my mind, gone on a trip to Iowa. It literally took me out of this sense of place and did create that white room experience just by tasting it. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go taste it later tonight because I keep it going. All right, that's kind of it,
Yeah.
right? There was 7 whiskeys.
What's the first thing you're going to retaste from the night, everybody?
The first one,
First,
Rare 68.
the 68.
Me too.
Me too. Oh my! We know where Scott's going.
Scott's
that's
24.
really, really interesting. I feel really strongly about that too.
I'm like thinking about it.
I think it's the one that got away.
See.
I mean, I think it's still available, so technically it didn't get away. But I'm thinking about it.
I am too. I'm like, should I pick up one of those to send with my 24?
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm saying those words. 2 heavily sherried whiskeys. Like, what is happening to me?
But that's just amazing, isn't it? Like, the 64 was a showstopper for many. It was for me. Like, if I had to pick one, that was clearly it. But now I'm sitting here thinking, like, I did not do this one justice. Like, this is, you know what I mean? I really feel that way.
I think that's why, because for me, it was when I tasted the 64, I was like, this is obvious. This is phenomenal. I'm getting a bottle. When I tasted the 68 at first, I didn't give it the right attention, kind of what you were just saying. It didn't command my attention. I was just I wanted to taste everything before we hopped on and had a discussion about them a while back. And so I didn't really sit down and give it its due, and then tried it again in this setting, really sitting down and trying to pick out the notes. I was like, wait, there is so much more here that I didn't know was going on. And now I really, really want to give it like the full press and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. George Kaplan says, Floral Petrichor was my first whiskey after catching COVID, my resurrection whiskey. Just as far as words go, I love the word resurrection.
So I have to say,
Love the meaning.
October of 2020, I caught the original Rona and lost smell and taste for quite a while.
Oh,
I have had smell distortion since, where like really pungent odors don't smell like they should.
Yeah.
And gasoline is the one thing I've been waiting, like when I'm getting gas and gasoline smells like gasoline. And last night it happened.
You smelled it for the first time? How
Yes.
was it?
And it was glorious. I loved it.
Was it Distillery 93 or was it actually petrol?
No, I was at the gas station. I'm getting gas and I am like, it's gasoline. I could smell it. I poured some in my car and I got it all over and I just was taking it in. I loved it.
Like
Have you told Mamuka that you've been impaired this whole time? Because, you know, it's for someone who's bought every bottle you've nosed and tasted.
No, that's why he makes those faces. The first time he smelt that smell in years.
It was 2.5 years. I mean, it smelled just like some putrid chemical, not like gasoline at all. And so I've just been waiting. And finally, last night, it smelled like gasoline.
That's awesome.
Yeah. 2.5
Matthew Welch giving me credit for having a purchase-worthy reaction as well. It's not just Scott. Thank you, Matthew.
Charlie's reaction to that 10.240 sold me on it. I'm going to go taste that in a bit. Okay. Anyway, so tomorrow night, Scott and I will be back. Actually, I just realized back-to-back live streams. We got one tomorrow.
As Arnold says, we'll be back.
I'll be back. Yeah. So, Scott, we're coming back tomorrow night to taste 2 whiskeys that we'll be releasing, 2 USA exclusive casks that we've picked out for Father's Day. Have you tasted them yet?
I have not.
I have not. Let's not taste them until the stream.
Okay.
How about that? Let's give them a full first impression.
I did open them today, let them get some air.
Okay.
And,
I mean, listen, you won't have to, but I usually taste for the first time. But we'll just be 2 dads tasting whiskey with no expectations.
Right.
Spoiler alert, though, one is peated and one is sherried. So we have a deep rich and dried fruits and a peated cask, 2 full casks for the USA. I'm super excited for it, especially the Durdiff deep rich and dried fruits one. That's a spirit, a make we haven't seen in a while, and I'm a big fan, big fan. So yeah, come watch us tomorrow. Join us. Otherwise, thank you all for a great festival season.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, Scott, Charlie, Jenna. It's been a lot of fun, I guess, this last few weeks, but man, it's been a hell of a work. And I would say that in terms of the work, like it's also super rewarding because I'm not gonna get teary, but man, that whiskey's been just amazing and it's been so much fun. Like this is the time. I think everybody in chat probably thinks that our job is always just glamorous and we get to do this all the time. The reality is it's like a lot of hard work and it's not always this glamorous, but man, those whiskeys like really kind of reinvigorated, I think, something in all of us. And so that was great. And I'm really, really now like excited for even more so for what's coming out soon this month alone. So we got a lot of streams. We got a lot of exclusive casts because Charlie, you and Jenna, we just announced today that the schedule. You've probably noticed that we have another USA exclusive. Man, it used to be we had one USA exclusive every year. And because of you, everybody watching, because our club has grown, we were able to get more and more. But we have a USA exclusive. Oh, we won't give it away, but I'm now thinking of what it is.
I'm
tying
I've been thinking.
Interesting. Oh, wait, Charlie, you and I are doing that, or
yeah, you and I are doing that.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
thinking about that this whole time, and I'm so excited.
It's super awkward because nobody knows what we're talking about.
I know.
Oh, interesting.
Let's just say one of these distilleries makes a comeback this month.
It's gonna be a dramatic turn. It's gonna be like what's the show that everybody's watching, the drama show right now? Vanderpump. I don't know if you guys know the biggest drama in television right now.
Called Bravo drama. I guess it's exclusively it's dramatic.
Yeah. Listen. Anyway, so we got that tomorrow. Scott and I will be previewing some, and then we're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Jenna, I think you're leading the outturns. We got 2 outturns this month.
Yep.
We got national. Yeah. We got
main outturn, and there's actually a whiskey in there that I was just looking through, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
really?
Yes.
There's
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I was like, "Are you joking?" I was like,
"What is that?"
Taste this.
We'll talk once this ends because I wonder if it's the same one. There's one that I'm so excited about.
Yeah. And then Charlie and I will be doing the mid-month outturn, and then we'll all be back at the end of June for a fun tasting as well. So
okay, yeah, I'm eager. I'm like in the list. I'm like, wow, these are a lot of exciting ones here. Which one?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fun continues.
Anyway, this month's gonna be kick-ass because it's usually like festival hangover. But I'm looking at this list of what's coming out this month. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is unreal. Look, oh my. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be tuning in either live or after to the stream because I need to know how some of these things turn out. They look unreal.
You ever watch the show 24? You remember that? Like,
yeah.
Every episode ending in a cliffhanger. I'm looking at this list right now. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching an episode of 24 right now. It's like can't stop, won't stop. Wallet burn. Well, my wallet's been burning. All right,
Distillery 24.
Oh, is there one?
Oh,
no, I don't know.
No, just the one in your glass.
Oh, look! I'm looking ahead of the rest of the year now.
Yeah, stop that! It's not fair to everyone else.
No way.
It's a good year. It's a really good year at the stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah. I think I know what your.
Well, it's our 40th anniversary year. We should mention that to everybody. The society is officially 40 years old as of this month. 40 years ago, GCAP. We saw you're right up on Instagram. By the way, we pay attention. That was really, really nice. And so yeah, we're going out this year. Go ahead and screen share, Ben.
Dude, you did that accidentally on the one Zoom we did.
What's that?
Did a screen share with in the our side the way things are shown.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so maybe Duke McHale.
I mean, whatever you want to call it. All right, we're ending this, guys. It's been great.
Time to go.
Good night. New month. See you all tomorrow night. Appreciate you being here. Thank you all seriously.
Thank you. Good night.
Cheers.
Cheers.